Chelsea won, Liverpool won. That is how we end up on the first game of the Premier League season for both clubs. First half goals from Luis Diaz first to Liverpool, striking first blood. Chelsea reacted through... I forgot his name. I forgot his name already. One of the many new players they have. Disarcy. Disarcy, that's his name, Disarcy. Disarcy equalised for Chelsea. Controversy, close moments throughout. Mohamed Salah was very close to getting his usual opening goal on the opening day of the season, but unfortunately was chalked off for offside. Ben Chilwell had the same effect at the other end, rounding the goalkeeper Alisson before sticking into the empty net, but he was judged to be offside as well. Plenty of good moments, end-to-end stuff, some good, some bad, some ugly moments from both clubs. Altogether, a sort of very interesting and probably for the neutral, more of an exciting tie than what it was, obviously, if you are a fan of one of these two clubs. First of all, hey guys, how has it been? How are you going? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. This is going to be something new that I want to try and do, mainly for Liverpool, but we might try and do it for some bigger games as well in terms of match reactions and that kind of thing. And of course, Liverpool versus Chelsea was the big game of the weekend, and obviously Liverpool being my team, so I'm going to start doing more reactions on Liverpool more often. And obviously in doing so, we're going to be starting off the new season with a 1-1 draw with Chelsea. Now, would like to remind you all to please like the video, like the live stream, subscribe if you're new or want to see more content like this. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And of course, all for you guys to get involved in the comments. What did you make of today's game? What did you make of Liverpool? What did you make of Chelsea? All of that good stuff will make for interesting, great reading, I'm sure, down below in that or in the chat, in the comment section, wherever it may be, going forward. So do get involved down there. First and foremost, would like to say on the whole Liverpool thing, look, like I say, I think for a neutral, it was a great game. For a neutral, I think it was a brilliant game of some open play. You can clearly tell that both teams were in need of new players. Both teams were in need of experienced players. It was a bit nervy. It was a bit awkward at times. It was a bit stop-start. It was a bit anticlimactic at times. There was some really good stuff mixed in with some really bad stuff. There was some really good stuff that led to some really bad stuff in terms of the build-up play. But overall, it was a typical sort of opening day of the season in which both teams decided to throw a little bit of caution to the wind. And overall, you could tell the kind of direction both teams were going in. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't amazing by any means or stretching the imagination for both clubs. But you can kind of see where both teams are looking to head towards going forward. And I think Chelsea a little bit more so than Liverpool in certain aspects when I talk about that. And I'll get onto a little bit why later on in the live stream. As far as what the game goes, look, it was very, very simple. It was Liverpool in the first opening half an hour were, in my opinion, brilliant. I thought Liverpool were threatening. I thought Liverpool was strong defensively. I thought Liverpool were very solid throughout the opening half an hour and deservedly took the lead through Luis Diaz. I thought Salah was unlucky not to have got his goal early on when he hit the crossbar. I thought it was a very good opportunity and an unfortunate miss that obviously, like I say, hit the crossbar. But then obviously Liverpool went ahead and took the lead anyway through Luis Diaz. A brilliant play, a brilliant piece of play by Liverpool from back to front, finished in McAllister, sweeping the ball out to the right wing towards Mohamed Salah. Salah cut inside, beautiful ball in between the Chelsea back line to find Luis Diaz, and Diaz slides home to open the scoring. Right off the bat, you can kind of see typical sort of Liverpool goal that Jurgen Klopp wants to obviously implement, playing that kind of football, switching up the tempo, building up the play. I thought McAllister's role in that was instrumental in terms of sweeping the ball out to the right-hand side. I think that's going to be important, and you saw a lot of that as the game wore on in terms of McAllister's use in that midfield was basically just to get the ball and progress it out to either wing. And in most cases, Salah was that free outlet on that right wing. And something that we all sort of saw and highlighted when we were talking about McAllister when he arrived at Liverpool, or them seemingly many months ago, we talked about how his direct approach, how his passing ability will suit the likes of Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah going forward, in terms of obviously them staying wide on the wings and McAllister just spreading them passes out to them kinds of positions. And it happened with Salah on multiple occasions. And on this occasion, it obviously led to the goal. Great run by Diaz to obviously get behind Reece James and in between him and the centre backs on them sides. Salah, beautiful ball in, and obviously perfectly weighted for Diaz to finish. And it's going to be a big season for Diaz as well. Like, obviously Salah didn't get his goal today. Very unfortunate in terms of obviously the goal itself that was ruled out for offside. Unfortunate in the way that obviously he hit the crossbar. And we'll talk about Mohamed Salah obviously a little later in terms of obviously his reaction to being substituted. But his pass was phenomenal. And even though he didn't get on the score sheet, he once again put another goal contribution to his name. And again, proved he is still world class. He is still world class no matter what. So phenomenal from Mohamed Salah. Big season as well for Luis Diaz. He needs to score more. He needs to have more of a goal scoring output. And I think him hitting the ground running this early on and this quickly into the new season, of course, will hopefully, and fingers crossed, help with that. So fingers crossed on his account that obviously he hits the ground running from here, and obviously for Salah to go forward. Liverpool then thought they had doubled their lead through Salah. Trent Alexander-Arnold, superb through ball, exploiting Chelsea's high line. Salah runs onto it and finishes well beyond Robert Sanchez. However, the goal was judged to be offside. It went to VAR. Salah is judged to be off by a shoulder. Once again, I know that this offside law saved us later on in the game, but I will say I think the offside law needs to be looked at. I do think it needs to be, and I'm not just saying this because obviously it benefited Liverpool in this situation. I'm saying it whether it benefited us or not. And like I say, later on in the game, it actually did benefit benefited Liverpool later on in the game, and obviously didn't benefit us at some point. So it's kind of 1-1 in terms of that score as well. But I think it needs to be looked at in terms of where your feet are in comparison to where your head is, where your shoulder is, where your fingernails are, whatever it may be. I just think it needs to be looked at in terms of where your feet are. Because if you're behind the defender with your feet, it's not that big of an advantage. And it's not an advantage if your shoulder's above where the back line is of the defence. It's not as much of a... If you're standing above that line, obviously offside. But if your feet are behind, but you're leaning forward, so your head is, or your shoulder is, or whatever it may be, I just think it needs to be looked at in terms of that aspect, because I don't think there's much of an advantage if your feet are not obviously with you, but you are leaning forward. I just think it needs to be looked at. I just don't think it's an offside law that benefits the opposing team, or benefits the attacking team, should I say. And it's a law that it more benefits the defending team, of course, and it's very difficult to get right and wrong. I just think if you look at it from the feet's perspective, from the standing point of the attacker, and obviously the standing point of the last defender, I think it would benefit more. I think the game would benefit more if that was to be looked at, rather than what it is right now, where they're looking at certain body parts, and the body parts that are not even from the baseline or the stature or the standing point of the attacking or defending player. So that's just my personal take on it. Goals chalked off. And then after that point, Liverpool just seemed to fall apart. Liverpool seemed to withdraw a little bit. They got more defensive. Chelsea started to get more of a hold of the ball, even more so, and they started to look more dangerous with it. down both sides. You saw that both full-back areas and wing-back areas were starting to get more influential for Chelsea throughout. And obviously, that was causing Liverpool problems. I thought from Liverpool's point of view, going through the centre of them wasn't as big of an issue or a big of a deal. But you could see that Robertson was getting exploited down that left-hand side of Liverpool's. Chelsea were exploiting it as a 2v1 situation, and multiple times they got joy down that right-hand side. And had Nicholas Jackson maybe had better shooting boots on today, we could be talking about a different scenario and a different result altogether, because he had some chances throughout the entirety of the game, which, like I say, arguably he should have done better with. But I think from a Chelsea fan's point of view, it's looking good, as in the promise and what could happen in the future, in regards to Chelsea's build-up play, how Chelsea were getting involved down the flanks especially, and how Nicholas Jackson was getting into the right areas in particular to obviously receive those chances. Bit more composure, bit more better finishing, and obviously he'll start hitting the ground running and he'll start obviously scoring more goals. But today, a little bit unfortunate, but at the same time, you know, more so for him. I think you can see the promise that kid has in particular. Hey Ballum, how you doing, bro? Nice to see you. Hope you are well, and would love to know what you thought. Am I happy with the point? No. Wanted the away win in Fulham. Yeah, I think with the way the game was set up, I think the game was set up there for the taking, especially as the game went on later on and the substitutions. Obviously, I did feel looking at the teams before kickoff that Liverpool had the strength and depth, and I think you saw that as the game wore out. Not that Liverpool were completely confident defensively, and we'll talk about that a little later, but the game was certainly there for the taking. I do understand your point on that. Liverpool know what they need to do this season. They need top four and to get the wins. I think they could get fifth and still get Champions League football. Champions League football is the bare minimum for Liverpool. But yeah, whether or not they'll get it is another point. Glad you're good, bro. If Liverpool went 2-0, they could have won another day. Yeah, as strange as it sounds, it could have done, because Chelsea were pushing forward and Liverpool looked dangerous on the counter-attack. It, for whatever reason, just sort of stopped after that offside goal was chalked off. Liverpool's attack sort of stopped for the remainder of that first half, and we were desperately wanting to get into half-time. But of course, we couldn't get there with it being 1-0. Obviously, Chelsea went and scored, and again, failure to deal with the set piece, and then obviously the back line breaking at key points to obviously allow the ball back into the area, and then Disasi to get free and then to beat Alisson from close range obviously didn't help. And then I thought we'd thrown it away completely when, of course, Chilwell of all people gets forward and rounds Alisson to tap into an empty net. Luckily, it was put as offside, closer than the Salah one, only just. But obviously the right call was made. But overall, it showed you how far away we are from beginning this season fully prepared. And, you know, this whole Caicedo and Lavia thing, look, my thoughts on the Lavia thing are slightly different to the Caicedo thing. The Lavia one is we should have got this deal wrapped up by now. We should have had this Lavia deal wrapped up by now. This isn't a case of Caicedo where Caicedo doesn't want to join Liverpool, or reportedly doesn't want to join Liverpool. Lavia did want to join Liverpool, or does want to join Liverpool, still has an open mind of joining Liverpool. We should have got this deal done and dusted. The fact that we have three public bids rejected by Southampton is a joke by us. The fact that we've begun the season and we're unprepared because of squad personnel. The fact that we've been trying all summer to rebuild this midfield, and we did well to an extent, and then we just threw it all away by getting rid of two key players, two very particular, very important midfielders in our role, is somewhat ridiculous. somewhat ridiculous in my opinion. And then the fact that we haven't done anything about it since is ridiculous. The fact that we haven't brought in the players that we need is ridiculous in my opinion. The fact that, you know, we've messed around with this Lavia deal rather than just go there, act like a big club, slap the money on the table and go, we're taking him, deal with it. We've decided to haggle for a few million here and there. Just go out. If you desperately want him, if you desperately think he's going to improve the squad, go and get him. Because I was looking at that squad today and I was like, right, attacking wise, no problem. Goalkeeping wise, no problem. Defensively, I'm scared. Defensively, I'm worried. For the first half an hour, Chelsea didn't really create a lot. That was worrying me, and I thought we were dealing with it very well. After that half an hour had been and gone, and we got the first goal, and the second goal was unfortunately chalked off for offside. That's when I started to worry because Chelsea was starting to find areas. Chelsea was starting to use the wings and use the channels well. They were isolating both Trent and Robertson, 2v1ing them down either side, and they were just getting the ball across using the other flank as an outlet. And Chilwell, on a number of occasions, if his finishing had been any better, could have got a couple of goals. As could, like I say, Nicholas Jackson up front. They were just exploiting the lack of defending in that Liverpool midfield in particular. I didn't think McAllister and Szoboszlai did much wrong, but they're not the type of defensive midfielders that we need, that we want, and that we obviously need to have all in at one go. All in at one go to start a game. So that's just my thoughts on the way that obviously things went from there. Thoughts on no Moises and no Lavia. If this happens, transfers will be busy. Someone tweets for Fabrizio at 2 a.m. Italy time and everything. Like I say, we should have gone out and got Lavia weeks ago. This whole Moises Caicedo thing is very weird to me. Again, I don't know what to believe and I don't know who to believe anymore. Like, I genuinely don't get it. On Friday, I woke up to the news that this was pretty much a done deal between Liverpool and Brighton. A few hours later, we're hearing that Chelsea have asked it to be halted because they're trying to put together a bid. Then they're saying that Caicedo wants Chelsea. He doesn't want Liverpool, but no bid's been put in yet. Or not to our knowledge, at least. So what's going on there? Why are Chelsea playing awkward? If Chelsea have just basically said that just because they didn't want Caicedo to be signed and registered for this game, fine, fair enough. But let's get some answers right here and now then. Liverpool need a fit Thiago in his last season. To be honest, we need some physicality. We need some physicality in that midfield, and we need a workhorse in that midfield defensively. Like, what I saw today in that midfield was a look of a team that looked good going forward. I thought McAllister was fine. I thought his progression of the ball really helped us in key transitions. I thought his work rate was pretty decent to a point as well, but we know he's not the most defensively minded player of all time, which is why the likes of Nicholas Jackson got in a few times, and why Reece James and the other name who escapes me right now, who plays on that right-hand side for Chelsea, got in a couple of times. So we definitely need that. I thought physicality in midfield was pretty poor. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like we're lacking and we're completely unprepared for this season. DC, Leipzig, Dortmund, and Bayer Leverkusen winning Bundesliga at all. If Bayern sell Coman to Man City and Pavard elsewhere, Bayern aren't perfect yet. Bayern are shooting themselves in the foot. They've got Harry Kane, but if they continue to sell key players as well, Kane can't do it on his own. But I kind of want to stick to Liverpool here, bro, with all due respect. So maybe in a future video, I might talk about Bundesliga, but kind of want to stick to the Liverpool-Chelsea game for this one, if you can understand and respect that one. Lavia is training and guessing he expects to move. Well, he's had pre-season. He's He's had pre-season, so it's not like he's coming in completely unfit if he was to come in. But let's face it, it seems like Chelsea are buying everybody now, and apparently no one is looking at FFP on this one, which I don't understand. So it is what it is. The midfield change completely been interesting. No more Jordan Henderson, James Milner, etc. Liverpool need energetic players in the midfield. Well, we were, and that was the plan. And obviously, the likes of the players we've been linked with have fitted that sort of specification and quality of player. But then the links have died down. You know, we didn't pursue Kefren Turam anymore. Lavia could be a player like that, but we seem to maybe have lost him. Caicedo would be a perfect fit and an unbelievable monster in a Jurgen Klopp system. But let's face it, it seems like he wants to go to Chelsea, according to big top-tier journalists. So I don't know what we're supposed to believe and say anymore in that. Thiago is not good at tackling, always gets a yellow card. Exactly. He's a bit like James Milner in that regard. Do you think 100 million Liverpool should place the money for Kylian Mbappe? Would you be happy with him for a season or two? To be honest, don't want Mbappe. Don't want Mbappe. We need a CDM. We need a defender. We need a centre-back. We need a CDM. Kylian Mbappe bringing in will be nice. It will improve shirt sales. It will be nice to have a player of that star quality and star power for a season, but we don't need him. And if we don't need him, we shouldn't go out and buy him just because of who he is. That's what Manchester United did a few years ago with Ronaldo. That's what United did a few years ago with Ronaldo. They needed a CDM. They needed a defensive midfielder. And they went out and got Ronaldo instead because they were scared that he would go to Man City and ruin his legacy for Man United. And they went and bought him, and they sacrificed not getting a CDM for bringing home Ronaldo. And that was ultimately, well, not ultimately and not the only thing, but let's face it, it was a big reason as to why Solskjaer ended up failing and not progressing at Manchester United during that time period. The Brighton player doesn't want to come. Sign Kylian. Kylian will be a good, exciting player. Frankie de Jong from Barcelona would be nice. I'm dreaming a little bit. He can live next to Virgil van Dijk as he's a good passer. Here's the thing. We've shown our hand now. Everybody now knows that we need a defensive midfielder. Everybody now knows we're going to be on the lookout for a number 6 in the remainder of this transfer window. And everybody knows that we've got now over 110 million to spend. If we're willing to put that amount of money, in for Moises Caicedo, everybody knows that we've got now that money to spend. Where the hell do we go from here? If we're to lose Caicedo and we're to lose Lavia, where do we go? Do we go back in for a Tchouaméni? Do we go back in for Tchouaméni from Real Madrid? I know that he says he doesn't want to go, but let's face it, money talks and people change their minds all the time. Do we go back in for a Tchouaméni? We need a defensive midfielder. Klopp wanted him last year. Do we go in for someone else? Is there another defensive midfielder that possibly is on our radar that we can look at? Either way, everybody now knows we've got over 110 million to spend this summer, at the very least. Everybody knows we're going to be wanting a defensive midfielder. So everyone's going to be upping their price. Everybody's going to be adding on a little bit extra. There might be an extra zero added onto the mix. There might be an extra few quid here and there in terms of the deal structures and everything. Like I say, bro, don't get me wrong. Kylian Mbappe coming into Liverpool would be phenomenal. It would be exciting. Of course it would. But it wouldn't be entirely practical. It wouldn't be practical, and it wouldn't be the best for Liverpool's long-term future if we were to sign him, if we're only going to get him for a year or so. So that's just what I think. Seems Southampton are selling James Ward-Prowse this week. Yeah, he's going to West Ham, isn't he? I think. Is it West Ham? I feel like it's West Ham. I could be wrong. I could have misread it somewhere, but I feel like it's West Ham. But again, he's not the kind of player that we need. We need a more defensive midfielder that is going to be more physical and that is going to break up play and move the ball swiftly forward. Ward-Prowse, as fantastic as he would be for set pieces, we don't really need. So Chelsea, like I said, get the equaliser. Goes into half-time. game is poised. Game is looking on a knife edge. Second half, Liverpool come out. They're much better. But again, it only lasts for about 5 to 10 minutes. Chelsea then get a hold of the game. And I don't think Liverpool really got a hold of the game, or at least a more foothold in the game until the substitutions came. And they were pretty shocking substitutions at that. I thought the ones of Gakpo and Jota were the right calls to be made because we needed to get something else in that midfield. Curtis Jones coming on made a lot of sense. Darwin Núñez coming on made a lot of sense as well because we could try and exploit them on the counter-attack even more. But again, the quality sort of died down a little bit from that point. Everything seemed to be a bit hit and miss. It seemed to get a bit nervy. Chelsea substitutions didn't really turn the game either. But you could tell that their squad overall was inexperienced. Their squad was overall young, inexperienced, and they didn't have a whole lot in depth. But it didn't matter because Liverpool subs didn't really change the game either. Van Dijk had an attempt that was close from the edge of the area, very close to obviously going in. McAllister should have played the ball better to Darwin Núñez. I think there was an error from Chelsea at the back. If he plays a better ball into Núñez, maybe Núñez gets a goal there. But unfortunately, he just absolutely fires it at Núñez, and he's unable to control it perfectly. Liverpool midfield needs 1 or 2 in at least to improve. Definitely. Couldn't agree more. 1 or 2 midfielders definitely needed, and a defender between now and the end of the transfer window definitely needed. But the question is, why are we leaving it this late? I thought we were told we weren't going to do that. Is what it is. 429 subscribers, nice. Liverpool need to get the wins next Premier League matches. Thanks for that, Rose. 429 is nice, and hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Would love to get some more. So obviously, hit the like button if you haven't already, or subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. So do appreciate it. Big game. Next game, massive game. I think it's Bournemouth, isn't it? I think Bournemouth are next up for us. Just want to double check. Yes, it is Bournemouth. I was right. It should be a win, especially being at home. It should be a win. But we'll have to obviously wait and see. We'll obviously have to wait and see. I don't want to count my chickens yet. A point away at Chelsea is never a bad point, as we know. Liverpool could have won this, is what I mean. Take care. Take care, mate. Thanks you for coming along. Always good to talk to you, and always good to hear your thoughts on anything that I'm talking about. So thank you for coming along. Appreciate it. And I guess in hindsight, you're sort of right in a way. Stamford Bridge, always a tough place to go, regardless of what kind of team Chelsea are. A point there is decent. We don't have to go again for another season at least, or in terms of the league at least. We don't have to go to Stamford Bridge for another season. So I guess it gets that out of the way and done with to an extent. So I guess that's pretty good in certain ways. I just feel like we could have done more. And especially with the way that the game went the first opening half an hour, I felt Liverpool could have done more, should have done more, and ultimately should have gone on to obviously win the game from that point forward. Like I say, we were unlucky in certain times. Salah hit the post. Salah's goal was chalked off only just for offside. Van Dijk came close to smashing one in the top corner. Darwin Núñez came close very, very late on to winning the game. That could have been spectacular had that deflection just maybe, I don't know, either not been there or just took it a different way. That could have been very intriguing as well, but it just wasn't to be, unfortunately. Overall, for Liverpool's point of view, I'd say a lot to be wary of, for good and bad. But we really need to get our finger out in terms of securing new signings and signings of the more defensive midfield variety going forward. like I say, I think it's going to be tough from this point forward because of obviously everybody now knows what we need. Everybody now knows how much money we have to spend, but we've got to do it. And if it means we have to overspend a little bit in certain players, then we've got to go and do it. We've got to go and do it. Yeah, a point, I guess, isn't a bad result away from home against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. But it could have been more. It could have been more. That game could have been there for the taking. And it could have been more. And at the same time, it could have been less. Because, like I say, defensively, I didn't think Konate put a foot wrong. I didn't think Van Dijk was bad at all. I just thought our midfield was not perfectly balanced to help, and I didn't think our fullbacks covered themselves in much glory. I know that our fullbacks in both Robertson and Trent were a little bit exposed at times, but I don't think they covered themselves in much glory either. I don't think it was their best of games, to be quite honest with you about that. From a Chelsea point of view, I thought Chelsea were pretty solid. I thought Chelsea were impressive, especially after that opening half an hour where they were kind of nervy. They got grips with the game after that, and they got better and they grew more into the game as the game wore on. I thought that they looked impressive, Chelsea, and they look like they're going to be exciting to watch this season under Pochettino and with the kind of young squad that they have, the inexperienced squad that they have, but the young, exciting and full of potential squad that they have. Like I said, I thought Nicholas Jackson in particular was very impressive. I thought his movement was good. I thought the way that he kept on getting into the right areas to be dangerous behind the back line of Liverpool was very, very good and very impressive. I thought his shooting could have been a bit better, and I thought he could have done a bit better with a couple of those chances, but I think the potential is there, and I think the danger certainly is there that, maybe in a game or in another game's time, he starts scoring and he starts finding the back of the net, and he does it at a more consistent enough basis to the point where maybe, just maybe, he may actually be a consistent enough goal scorer for Chelsea, something that they've lacked. I thought they played very well at times. I thought they had some good movements, some good bits of football. You can kind of see defensively there's still a lot to be worked out and still a lot of kinks to be ironed out in a defensive manner. I think in the final third as well, for as good as what they were in creating certain chances down either wing, you can kind of tell that sometimes going through the middle, they lack a bit of a spark, a bit of consistency, but that I'm sure will come with time and with more fluidity and obviously more togetherness and more of a sort of unionized squad, I guess you'd say, because this is still a squad that is learning together, that is being thrown together by the amount of change that has, of course, happened across this past year, and let alone this past summer, where, of course, they've got to get towards a new manager, get used to a new players coming in, and so on and so forth. So I think from a Chelsea point of view, there's a lot to be intrigued by, a lot to be excited by, a lot to be happy about. Again, from Chelsea's part, I thought, like I said, Nicholas Jackson was impressive. I thought Enzo Fernandez was brilliant. I thought he was a real class act in that midfield. And again, Conor Gallagher played okay. He got better as the second half wore on in particular. But you can just imagine how much more Enzo Fernandez will be unlocked if there is a player like Caicedo next to him. With a player like Caicedo next to him, Enzo Fernandez can be unlocked even more. And that is a scary, scary prospect to have, because he's looking brilliant right now. But imagine if you had someone to really complement where he lacks, or maybe complement more what's the best way to phrase this? To complement more of where he excels rather than where he's okay to do, but he can be more effective maybe going forward, maybe being more effective in terms of transitioning from defense into attack, just little things like that. I think Caicedo could unlock Enzo Fernandez even more so than what he is. And I've been saying that all summer, by the way. This isn't just me looking at it right off the bat in terms of this game and saying that. I've been saying it all summer. A guy like Caicedo could really unlock Enzo Fernandez. And that is scary considering how good I think Fernandez has been since arriving at Chelsea and how much potential he has, how much ability he's currently got. Very interested to see this Chelsea side going forward. Reece James injured again. Who'd have thought it? What was the point of giving him the captain's armband? Guy can't stay fit. Guy just can't stay fit. And on a slightly salty note, his defending for the goal that Diaz scored should be put under the microscope a little bit more. If his name was Trent Alexander-Arnold, it would. But because it's Reece James, it won't be. But I'm just... My one salty note out of the way. Overall, and in conclusion, a solid win. A solid and good... Solid win. A solid draw. A solid point. You know, Chelsea probably shaded it. They probably created the better chances. Liverpool, though, were somewhat unlucky in certain aspects. Like I say, they had a good couple of chances themselves. But going away to Stamford Bridge, solid point. Thought Chelsea looked good. I think with more intensity, with more work on the training ground, and with obviously less time in terms of travelling, in terms of no European football, I think they're only going to get better and better and better and stronger and stronger and stronger with each passing game this season. So I fully expect them to have a decent season this campaign. I think they're lacking certain areas, and I think they're lacking in terms of obviously age and experience. That will maybe be crucial in key times this season. I think they're still on for a very, very good and solid season. We'll just have to wait and see on both of these sides what they can do in the remainder of the transfer window. We can clearly tell that they need improvement. They need strengthening. They definitely need to go out and buy more players and key players at that. So we'll wait and see, obviously, what happens in terms of that aspect. Good point for both sides. Both sides can feel maybe a little bit annoyed that they couldn't go on to win it. But overall, decent game of football all round. And those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of today's game between Liverpool and Chelsea that finished 1-1 at Stamford Bridge? Would love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, down below in the comment section or in the chat or whatever it may be. Going forward will make for great and interesting reading, I'm sure. I'm going to be back on Tuesday with a roundup. I'm going to start doing the Premier League reviews again every Monday or Tuesday, depending on whether there's a Monday game, in which we talk about the Premier League games that have been and gone over the course of the 3 to 4 day, maybe 2 day weekend, depending on how the fixture lists and schedules are being planned for this season. With obviously Manchester United playing tomorrow, it means that I'm going to be doing that kind of show on Tuesday. So we look forward to that. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things will always be greatly appreciated. And of course, like I mentioned before, get involved in the comment section. We'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, predictions, feelings on this Liverpool-Chelsea game in the comment section down below. Otherwise, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been a match reaction live stream, and I will see and speak to you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Have a good night. See you soon.